Hello guys and welcome to my 10 top underused but still good Yu-Gi-Oh cards. To start off, we're going to talk about the magic card Reload. Now this adds all cards in your hand to your deck and then shuffle it. Then draw the same number of cards that you added to your deck. This is pretty good because if you have a deck that relies on a certain hand when you start, if you draw this in that hand and you draw a crap hand, you just basically draw another one. It's good. Don't really see many people using it because it can be slow in the later game, or if you have maybe just reload in your hand, that's pretty much useless. Next up for number 9 we have the card Jar of Greed. Basically it's a trap card that allows you to draw one card. How is this good? Well, if someone tries to Mystical Space Typhoon it, then you can flip it, activate it, draw your card, and MST is basically wasted. It's good for other cards like that. If you never really see yourself activating it in that way, you can still draw one card with it. So that's one less card you have to draw through your whole deck to get to the better ones. Next up for number 8 we have Autonomous Action Unit. Now this is actually an equip spell card that when you pay 1500 life points, you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon that target to your side of the field in face-up attack position, and equip it with this card. When this card leaves the field, destroy the equipped monster. Now this can be good for obviously if your opponent's winning, or if they got a card that they want in their graveyard. You can just basically take it for a bit and either smack down one of their monsters with a big monster they had in their graveyard, or take a monster that they want to use in the combo maybe next turn, so they have to get rid of that monster either in the battle step or destroy Autonomous Action Unit. Now this can be used on cards that are unaffected by spell and trap cards, and I'm pretty certain that it will not destroy them even when that card is destroyed, because they are unaffected by spell and trap cards effects after they get on the field. Next up, coming in at number 7, we have Magician of Faith, one of only 2 monster cards on this list unfortunately, because most of the good monster cards are actually talked about a lot. But Magician of Faith generally is too slow in most decks, and not many people use it. And it's kind of situational, but when it does work, you can get some pretty good value out of it. A good example can be in Dark Magician decks, obviously in magic card heavy decks. Magician of Faith can be very handy. But again, not so much used and referred because it can be slow. Next up in number 6 we have the card Megamorph. While your life points are lower than your opponent's, the equipped monster's attack becomes double its original attack. While your life points is higher, the equipped monster's attack becomes half its original attack. Now this is obviously a card you would use when you are behind. You generally don't want to be in that situation, but if you ever do end up in that situation, maybe making a 3000 attack point monster into a 6000 attack point monster could easily swing the game in your favour. Now it's not an end all and be all of equipped cards, otherwise I think everyone would run this card. At number 5 we have the old but gold card Fake Trap. Now this is a very old card. I think this was one of the first few sets that came out included this card. You can only activate this card when your opponent uses an effect of a spell, trap or monster to destroy trap cards on your side of the field. Destroy this card as a substitute for those trap cards, and the other trap cards are not destroyed. If a set card or cards would have been destroyed, pick up and see the set cards. Now this is obviously a double-edged sword. You would have to show your opponent what traps you have down, but at the same time he won't be able to destroy them. Now this can be good in certain decks. Maybe the trap card isn't as important as you would think to the opponent's turn, but rather to yours. Or the card, they would have to try and get rid of it once they see it anyway. So this would make them have to use 2 cards to try and get rid of one trap instead of just the one they originally used. At number 4 we have our second and unfortunately last monster on this list, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Now this is the most controversial card I'm going to put on this list because it has been talked about a lot, and it probably is still talked about a lot, but is it underused? I would say so compared to its competitor, Effect Veiler. Now this basically comes down to its effect. When a monster on the field activates its effect, or when a spell trap card that is already face up on the field activates its effect, you can send this card from your hand or the field to the graveyard. Destroy that card on the field. You can only use this effect of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit once per turn. And obviously this is slightly worse in situations against monsters that use their effects, because Effect Veiler will negate the effect from ever going off, so that's better, but this card destroys the card. That's why I see it as underused. Also, stopping trap cards and other things, you can use it for that, but generally trap cards that are face up on the field you can destroy with normal spells and other stuff anyway quite effectively. Next up at number 3 we have DNA Surgery. Now, why would I say this is underused? Well, it's probably because it is highly situational and it can be taken care of pretty well. But on the other hand, why is it good? Well, certain decks run off using their monster type, zombie, spellcaster, warrior, stuff like that. And this card will basically shut down those decks for however long it's on the field. Now, once they destroy it, obviously sorts it out, but they have to go out of their way to stop their combo or whatever they were doing to actually stop DNA Surgery. Coming in at last but one, we have the magic card Misfortune. Now this is pretty good in my eyes because of the effect. Select one face-up monster your opponent controls. Inflict damage to your opponent equal to half that monster's original attack. Your monsters cannot attack this turn. Now, why is this good? Well, obviously, if you're ever in the situation where you're behind and you don't think there's ever a way you can really get back in front, and maybe your opponent has less than optimal life points. Let's say he has 2,000 life points and he summoned a 4,000 attack monster to try and balance the game back out. Obviously, you select that 4,000 attack monster with this card and you deal that 2,000 damage and you obviously win the game. Now I see this better in decks where you control the board most of the time. So if you ever do lose it, you are normally in the lead with the life points anyway, and your opponent would be in a less than optimum range and will actually die from its effect. There you go, that's why I think it's good. Last but not least, we have the magic card Soul Release. Now this is underused probably because it is situational again. You basically want to use it against decks that want to run themselves into the graveyard and then run off the graveyard. Obviously, if you banish most of the monsters that they put in their graveyard that can resummon themselves, then you are going to win the game a lot more than if you left them in there. This would probably be a side deck card more than anything, and would rarely see play because many decks basically have the most optimum way to control the board, even if they bring back the monsters from their graveyard. But again, it's a good card because it can shut those type of decks down easier than just trying to control the board on your own. Thank you for watching, and again, this was my personal picks of the top 10 that I think are underused but still good. If you think there are cards that are underused but still good, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next video.